I don't know what folks are thinking. How could it be any other way? 238 million more folks this Earth year, 10% more than last year, are dealing with hunger, or the new phrase is food insecurity. It couldn't be any other way. You got parties being paid not to farm in certain places. You got drought in certain places. Some particular farmers have shifted what they were growing, and now they're getting less on the part that they're farming now. So they're earning less than they did last Earth year. And of course, for those that insist on using fertilizer, there's a impact on access to fertilizer because of the war between Russia and Ukraine. Those two provide a lot of the fertilizer and a lot of the food product. So how could it be any other way? So when you got a decrease in the amount of food that is available, a decrease in the amount of fertilizer that's available for those that insist on using it, which is many of the folks across the planet, well, that means not just food insecurity now. If there's less fertilizer, or fertilizer is so expensive that folks can't afford to acquire it, there's going to be less food growth going forward. 2 + 2 = 4. I don't care what language you say it in. No one's going to argue with you. What you're looking at is the makings of a huge problem for many folks across the planet. The quote-unquote Pan-Africanists, they're not talking about this. The quote-unquote Moorish, they're not talking about this. I don't know what our kith and kindred are doing, but they're not talking about it. In landlocked areas in Alkebu-lan and the Ab.Zu, they've had coups. And 3 of the coup leaders have decided they want to have a quote-unquote federation. So they're kicking out Paris and bringing in Moscow. Great plan. So they bring in Moscow to refine the gold in Bamako. All 3 of them get their arms from Moscow. So to stay in power, they need those arms. And they're bringing in the Russians to supplant Paris. So I don't get what their end game is. Why did you kick out Paris only to bring in Moscow? They all got to go. I don't understand where folks are in their brain, because you cannot inject logic into a situation because there is no logic there. And parties, they're not talking about it and not planning for it. It's only a matter of time before the shocks of all this impact globally. And where exactly are the Moors in that equation? Where exactly are the Moorish in that equation? The undeclared Moors, our brothers and sisters across the planet. And more importantly, why have they chosen to take that position? Especially when the bulk of them, overwhelmingly, almost all of them, are end users and not providers. Being the end user means you're dependent on the providers. And when the providers are locked in wars and supply chains are now impacted, and when fertilizer access is now impacted and harvest yields are now down and 238 million more folks are hungry, it leads to other things. Parties begin to turn inward. More to the point, when parties turn inward, they're looking for someone to blame, and violence is now on the table and the thinking of many of them. And this is how you get the new strongman, the modern day version of the tyrants during the World War II era, as some would call it, World War II era, as some would refer to it. You think a food crisis happens in a vacuum? It does not. As far as I'm concerned, it's an opportunity for us with our food with operations. The thing is, we no longer grow enough food to feed ourselves. However, as we expand our fruit growth operations, we're able to provide food for those outside of our jurisdiction and venue. There's opportunity there. But right now, most of our kith and kindred are ill-equipped, they're ill-prepared, their alleged quote-unquote leaders are not even talking about it. They have no plans. And listen to their language, it's very precise. Their language is very telling. It demonstrates a level of incompetence and a dearth of ideas. And who's going to suffer from all that? Our kith and kindred. It's painful to watch. However, our hands are tied by the choice that they make.